What's important is that we're all on the same page. This isn't their life and they don't breathe mortgages every day like we do. I think making sure that we're submitting a nice clean file is the most important thing. Probably about half the time that we are getting rushes requested, the borrower isn't even ready to close at that time.
Hi everyone, Serena Diego here, and welcome back to the Digest by A&D Mortgage, your trusted source for insights into the mortgage industry. Today, we will be discussing the full loan life cycle, what happens all the way from submission to servicing. I have joining me Neil Childs, Operations Manager, who has over 2 decades in experience, to walk us through all the stages of the loan and also advise partners how they can make the biggest impact. Let's get into it. Hi, Neil. Thank you so much for joining me on the Digest today.
Hi, Serena. Thanks for having me.
You know, with over 2 decades in this industry, what really keeps you going? What really motivates you?
Well, I think the biggest thing that keeps me going is with all of operations, there's always a way to improve our processes, to make enhancements and to make changes. And working with such a great staff, our leadership team and our team members are always willing to drive that change for us.
Great. And, you know, working in operations, can you start us at the top of where a loan starts, different departments, and where it ends?
Yeah, of course. Once we have a lender that goes in and submits their file, we first want that loan to go through our disclosure team. Our disclosure team is going to send out all the application disclosures to our borrower, disclose the file, and then from there, we're going through our underwriting team. All of our underwriting operations teams are going to be working on that file throughout the customer-facing portion of that loan. And then after underwriting is done, that's when our closing group gets involved. And so closing is going to be collaborating with title. They're going to work with our lenders and also make sure that we are good to go and ready for our settlement agent. After that, then we're going to be going through our post-closing process and eventually funding that file. And from a customer standpoint, then we're going to be all done with that.
And what are some key points from disclosures, underwriting process? What are some key things there?
I think the biggest key points when submitting a file is making sure we have all of our fees accurate, that we're disclosing everything accurately. And from there, making sure that we're submitting a full file for underwriting, making sure that we have as much information as possible is going to make the whole process go a lot smoother from an underwriting perspective.
I see that many times. You know, we have a rush file. Everyone wants it rushed. Nothing's in the file. You also mentioned this in the processes. So you said after clear or close, this is kind of where the process ends for the borrower. What does happen after clear or close for us?
After clear to close, that's when we're really trying to get the file through closing. So closing is going to make sure that we're collaborating with our title company and that we're actually getting that borrower done and the loan funded and through the closing stage. So then the borrower is getting their keys to their house, they're moving in, and then that's when all of our post-closing fun starts.
And what's the goal at the post-closing stage?
The main goal with post-closing is to make sure we have a full file for delivery to either our investor or the agency. They're going to go through, make sure that we have all of the correct documents in the file. They're going to do a double check on everything that we've done prior to them. And then at the end of the day, they're going to make sure that that loan gets purchased from our lenders or funded. And we're going to then deliver that file to our investors.
And are there any issues that are very common with our partners, maybe 1 to 2, that happen in the closing process that maybe can be avoided?
Well, you mentioned rushes, so I think it's important to note if we ever need a rush, we always want to make sure the borrower is ready and able to close. We see probably about half the time that we are getting rushes requested that perhaps the borrower isn't even ready to close at that time. I think that from our standpoint as trying to get those files through, we do this every day. You know, our brokers, our correspondent lenders are trying to get every file closed. It's important to the borrower to get that file closed today. This isn't their life and they don't breathe mortgages every day like we do. So making sure that we have a borrower ready and available to close is the most important part there.
Sometimes I feel they might rush it because lock extension, because of maybe there are other personal reasons, but I do see that as well. We've actually requested some through loyalty points and actually, proceeded with the rush. We got approval with loyalty points and management, and we got there and borrower actually wasn't ready. At the very end of our process, servicing begins. What makes for a clean handoff there?
Nope, we actually hand the file off at servicing to our servicing group, but that is a very important stage that we continue operations even after we've handed that file off to servicing. So the borrower gets to see our servicing department after we've actually sent that file over to them, but we still have work to do on the back end when it comes to getting additional recorded documents from counties, making sure that we have all of our collateral recorded properly, and also making sure that we get our final title policies.
So you oversee so many departments. What do you think is something that goes on behind the scenes that maybe our viewers don't realize how much coordination it takes?
Well, there's a ton of coordination in the mortgage life cycle. For the fulfillment process, what's important is that we're all on the same page. So all of our different departments within operations, making sure that they're working hand in hand, that we're working together, and any changes we make are not impacting another group down the line. So that's the most important thing, I think, with all of operations groups working together and making sure that we have a nice, clean process at the end of the day.
So for our final question, what is something that you wish our partners would do every time that they submit a file just to make the process go a little bit smoother?
Well, I think making sure that we're submitting a nice, clean file is the most important thing. And at the end of the day, whatever is happening with that loan, with that borrower, just letting us know up front is going to help ensure that the entire process goes a lot smoother.
Clean, double check your fees. If you have any no tolerance areas, I mean, very important thing. Thank you again, Neil, for being here today.
Thanks so much.
Big thanks to Neil for letting us know what happens behind the scenes, and also for letting our partners know how they can have an impact in the loan process. So I have a question for you. Do you feel confident at every stage of the loan? Or is there a stage you'd like to learn more about? Please let us know in the comment section. Be sure to like and subscribe. Stay informed, and I'll see you next time.